Hello, welcome back to Ratchet Builds. Today, I'm going to fly for the first time with a plane that I bought off of Goodwill.com. The plane that I got is the JXT-4. It's labeled as a trainer plane, and that's about all I know about this plane. Whenever I ordered it offline, all it did was come in a box, fully disassembled, no instructions, no information. It did come with a controller and batteries. But that's about all I know about this plane. I don't even know what motor's in it. Since I normally throw the instructions away anyways, this plane was perfect for me to put together, learn about them, and prepare for my first flight. So I started off by checking all the electronics in this plane just to see if everything was functional. My first hurdle that I came across was actually on the controller itself. So whenever I pulled the controller out, it was kind of weighted and I thought it was pretty nice. But I opened the battery tray and what did I find? A whole bunch of green corrosion. Green and white, and just covered all the contacts. Whoever used this controller last didn't take any of the batteries out of it, and they all just exploded and destroyed the contacts in it. I didn't want to spend that much money on this plane, so in a last ditch effort, I went out to the store, got me some automotive battery cleaner spray because it's good at eating away at the corrosion, and I took it, sprayed it all down, and let it sit for 15-20 minutes, came back and put another layer of it on there, and then I started hitting everything with a wire brush. And all in all, it came out pretty well. I can actually see all the metal contacts. So the next thing is just let's load up the batteries into the back of it and see if it turns on. And look there, we've got power. So with the controller taken care of, next thing is to start checking out the plane to see on what I need to do to it. The first thing I want to check out was to make sure my propeller was actually working, which the motor doesn't feel seized up or anything. And like I said, looking inside this thing, there's not much dust to it. There's no body damage done to it. I'm not even sure if this plane had ever seen flight time. Next thing I want to check out was actually back here on my rudder that is going to give my elevation and also my turning to make sure the servos were working for it. Plugged everything up, and to my surprise, it did. The rudder moved, the elevation moved, but the issue was the servos had gotten old, and when they would try to adjust, they would get stuck and hung and just kind of sit there and shake, and then finally they would go back to the normal position. Whenever you're flying in the sky, you don't need one hanging up because otherwise you're going to pitch it down and nosedive and crash, or either you're just going to fly to the sky or to the heavens at least. So next thing was to fix the servos in it, and luckily I had some extra servos laying around that I bought in bulk for another project, and they happen to be the exact size that I need. The only problem is that I didn't have much room to work with it. So I was looking at the bottom here of the plane, and these screws looked like they came out to remove the inside of where the servos were being held, but because of the wheels being pretty much permanently affixed in, you can't actually pull the center carriage out without undoing this and trying to re-glue them back in. So I opted to work completely on the inside of this plane the best way that I could. With a little bit of room, my normal screwdriver was not going to reach my screws like I needed it to. Thankfully, I've got this little iFixit kit, and it comes with this little flex piece on it to get into hard to reach places, which was perfect for me to put a bit and line it up on the inside and bend it just perfectly over the screws to be able to remove the screws on the servo. Now, this still took me several hours to do to get them all lined back up and the new servos in, but the good news is the new servos went in and they function well. They were much quieter than the original servos in it. So we had solved that issue, and it was moving on to the next step of checking the propeller. We already knew the motor was not seized, so the next step was just to see if we could get power. I'd already been checking it out, of course, at this time and getting the back servos all set up, but the one issue is on the controller, I couldn't find the throttle. I thought the up and down would be the throttle, but that wound up just being the elevation. The side to side wound up being my rudder wing to actually change the direction of the vehicle, or direction of the plane. On the back, there's this nice little hidden button back here that's perfect for whenever you're holding the controller to move the throttle. Now what this does is you move it to the position that you want it to at whatever speed, and it's going to hold that speed. So you push it all the way forward to go faster, down a little bit more. I kind of like this feature. With that figured out, I tried it several times and found my stock ESC that came in this was no longer putting the power out to my motor. The ESC that was in there could still power everything except for the motor itself. It wasn't sending any power out to it. Luckily, I dug around and I found a package of ESCs that I had for my 1/16 cell crawlers. Now these are 30 amp ESCs. I'm not sure what this motor is. There's no markings on it to tell me what it is. So I put it in. To my surprise, it worked. So I went ahead and finished doing the wiring, and I changed this over from its stock batteries of the nickel metal Kayad batteries over to a LiPo battery. That way I can just use the ones that I already have instead of trying to charge up these old batteries that I have no clue if they'll even charge up anymore. So with everything installed and all the functions working on it, it was time to put this raceway back together and let me go take it for a flight. Alright guys, so we're down here in the field. We're going to try to take this T-Hawk out for its first flight and also my first time flying. I'm going to use my driveway here as a takeoff and landing area. So we're going to go ahead and try to get her laid down here and see if we can get a takeoff. I think I'm actually going to take it and grab it and throw it for takeoff because of the wind that we have out here. So, whew, I'm nervous. Yeah, I have no speed control again. All right, we're done. All right, so as y'all saw on that last flight with the T-Hawk, we had a pretty dramatic crash right at the end. The issue that I had with it is that the motor in the plane actually cut and shorted out the ESC that I had in it. I believe I found out why. There was something wrong with that previous motor that was spiking the ESC, and it burned out even my new one in mid-flight, motor cut, and that's the reason we crashed. So now what I've done to it is I went online, did a quick little search, couldn't find the motor that would actually match up to the motor that was originally in the plane. So I had to do something a little bit different. I found this cheap $30 drone motor ESC combo, and that's what we have on it now. So let me go over that. This is our drone motor right here. The blade is actually a little bit longer than the stock one, and I do also believe I am running this in reverse rotation than what the propeller is designed for, but it's what I had. I wound up 3D printing this little plate right here to make everything mount up properly. And I also had to go ahead and get a new controller and receiver in it as well, because the original one I was having issues with. This is the new improved T-Hawk, and we're gonna try to take it for its second flight. I'm gonna get y'all strapped to my head and see if we can catch some footage of this happening. All right, let's go. Now, I no longer have a power switch on this, so it's all controlled through the controller. Also, I don't have any safety for a flyaway. I'm just gonna make sure my propeller works. This definitely has a lot more power on this propeller than what the other one did. So hopefully we've got the power to actually get takeoff. So I actually didn't think this through. Ooh. So my issue is gonna be here is I've got to get the speed up on this. So luckily my throttle, I can throttle it up. I'm gonna go about halfway. Now I watched the video that says just to throw it straight, and we're gonna try it. Woo, okay. All right, I need to get on it a little bit quicker and elevate it up some more. And it looks like I'm also pitching a little bit to the left, so I'm gonna try to adjust this real quick. All right, there we go. I don't see any damage done to the plane, so we're gonna try this again. Oh, that was a hard hit. That was a very, very hard hit. I am no good at this whatsoever. So no damage, it don't look like. It did shift my wings around. I'm just gonna put those back in center. I'm gonna try this again. I'm actually gonna try to throw it up this time so I can get a little bit more air time. Oh, it's very nose heavy. I may not be able to get this thing to fly today. Oh man. Okay, so I think this might be too sensitive because every time I go up with it, I'm also pitching right. I think that might be me hitting the trigger improperly. I have to say, this thing's holding up pretty well for a beginner flyer. Hopefully I haven't tweaked anything that's throwing me off here. I'm gonna try to bend this back forward real quick. All right, here we go. We're gonna try again. Oh. Ah. See, I almost had it there. It's just me, whenever I go to push up on it, I'm also tilting it to the right at the same time. So it's like kind of going, but not going. I'm trying to make sure, damn, I've already bent one of the blades too, it looks like. Oh, yeah, she's just like super sensitive, especially on the turning side of it. I don't know if I'm gonna get this thing in the air, guys. Let's talk about my second flight. A couple of different issues with my second flight. For one, I have no clue what I'm doing when it comes to planes, if that's not obvious by now. Second, I think that it was a little bit too windy outside for me to actually be flying something like this T-Hawk. It is a glider plane where it should just be gliding, long sweepy turns from my understanding. This wing doesn't have any of the, I guess, pitching wings on it, so that way you can actually pitch it and make sharp turns. All I've got is the turning one in the back. I don't know even the proper names of these things yet. As far as damage from all the fails and landings that you will be seeing, the only thing I really damaged on it is I did damage my wing here and here, and that was from wherever it would crash. This wing would shift over and then my propeller would hit it, which I'm actually surprised it didn't shatter this into pieces because it is just foam board, and it actually damaged my propeller back here. The tip was getting pretty beat up, and then of course it snapped this one off. Another problem I have with it is I'm not even sure if I modified the right type motor onto this. So this was supposed to be for a drone. It's a 2,200 kV motor. It seems like it spins a lot faster than what the original motor did, and also this propeller is slightly longer than what the original motor was. I don't know if I hurt myself or helped myself by putting this on here. So something else that I need to do a little bit more research on, figure out what exactly I need. And if you know what I need, leave me a comment down below. Maybe you can help me out on trying to get this thing into the air. I think on the next time I try to fly, I am going to try to actually get a real beginner's type airplane, something a little bit more modern to try to just get into the air, at least longer than 10 seconds in the air. And I do want to put this one on the back burner for now and maybe do a little bit more research to see what it'll take to get it in the air. Luckily, it doesn't look like I damaged anything on the back. It doesn't look like I damaged anything on the shell. I do realize also that I probably need to try to shift the weight of the battery back a little bit, maybe into this cell somehow area, because every time it did go down, it came down at a sharp angle, it looked like. So that tells me that this thing is very nose heavy, which of course it's going to be with this wingspan. But I think if I just got the battery like back a little bit or something like that, maybe I could balance it just a little bit more, get a little bit more airtime. Honestly, don't listen to me. Don't take my advice on modifying airplanes, because I definitely don't have enough knowledge behind it yet. If y'all like this video, please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me what I could do to improve this. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for me, and I'll catch y'all on the next flight. Y'all have a good one.